it is a risk, and you have to be willing to take that risk. And you have to be ready to fail.
Oh, yeah.
You have to be ready to lose everything.
Probably one of the most important lessons I learned in business was...
So, tell me about your eyesight, Gummi. You said you're having problems seeing.
Dude, when they tell you get older and these things start happening, they aren't lying.
I know.
Like 5 years ago, I didn't even need glasses, and then the moment I hit 45, it was like someone flipped a switch or set a timer, and just I felt it every year, every month. Like it's slightly worse.
I'm not quite there yet. I don't need glasses yet, it's just a matter of time. But I think about 6 months ago, I was sitting on my couch and I physically felt something change in my eye, both eyes. Like all of a sudden, like I'm watching TV, and then all of a sudden, I physically felt something happen, and suddenly everything was just a little bit blurry.
Yeah. It literally, like...
It's crazy.
It kind of... When I was talking to my eye doctor, that's exactly what he said. He was like, you've been lucky that you haven't experienced it, but like the moment I turned 45, apparently that's a biological thing that right around that age, it can be like 42, 47, but right around that 45 mark, your eyes will start deteriorating, and there's no way around it.
No, there's nothing you can do, I guess.
So I was like, at least I'm like, my glasses are only like a plus 0.75.
Right.
But it's enough that it makes a difference. And I remember 10 years ago, because I always say you should have a friend that's 10 years older than you and 10 years younger, right?
So you know.
So you know what's coming and you can warn the next guy, right? Like, but I remember when he was saying 10 years ago, he's like, I'm feeling the little things. He's like, I've had to make the font on my computer bigger. Yeah. He's like, I've had to make my text messages bigger. And I remember making fun of him. And now I'm like, do I put on the glasses or do I make the font bigger? Because he's going to make fun of me either way.
Soon
now.
It'll be both.
Right.
Yeah, it's crazy, man. I'm not quite there yet, but I was at the Eagles game about 2 weeks ago. And so I sit in the 200 section over here, in the corner, and then like this is the field, and then the other jumbotrons over on this side. So I'm like right next to the jumbotron, so I can't see this one. I have to see this one, and then they have the scoreboard and everything next to it. It was getting harder to see. Damn. I was like, some of the finer prints on the the scores from within the league, it was getting harder to see. I couldn't believe it. I was like, oh my god, I can't see that.
Yeah. But I can tell you though,
I'm not happy.
I bet I can tell you though, when I finally did decide to go and actually get properly, because I bought the cheap glasses that were like +1 just to help me with like when you have to thread a needle, so to speak, type stuff.
Magnifying glass.
Pretty much, right? But I can tell you though, when I went to the eye doctor and I got the right glasses with the right prescription for each eye, because my eyes are different, it made a huge difference in just like stamina sitting in front of a computer.
Oh, really?
I didn't get as tired.
Oh, that's good.
I could sit for more hours. So it was like noticeable once you got the glasses on, right? I was like, I didn't get headaches as much after work.
That's what I heard is once you start getting the headaches, that's when it's time to go see the eye doctor.
I would say go before.
Yeah. Well, how do you know?
When you can't see the scoreboard anymore, that's normally a good sign.
All right, let's see what we got today in our startups. Let's see. Hey, if you're having a good time, don't forget to subscribe to our channel.
Oh, and press the like button. Leave a comment.
Do you like the like button?
I like the like button.
I really like the like button.
Do you know what I love, though?
What?
Comments. I love comments.
Comments are great.
Especially if they're questions that we can get to and actually answer.
That's right. So leave us some comments and we'll get back to you on those.
Okay.
All right, let's get back to it. This guy says, I just had the best idea for a startup. Wait, no, 10 ideas. No. Should we? Let's see. Let's see what his ideas are. I'm curious. This is from Onan with an underscore. Let's see what he has to say here. All right. 10 new startup ideas. Number 1, LLM wrappers on existing SaaS tools. They already exist.
It's there.
People are already doing that.
So these don't sound like ideas.
Well, maybe. Let's see. Let's dig in.
Okay.
Integrate everything all in one AI agent. What's everything?
No, they have that as well.
Yeah, I know. But what's everything mean?
Yeah. That's a lot.
It's a lot. I'm not going to be integrating my legal practice with marketing and with shopping.
Right.
Right?
He's thinking like the Chinese super apps just for AI.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Right, like,
that literally have different fields to do different things. Yeah,
yeah.
sure.
I mean, they're outlawed here. We can't even make them in the U.S.
Really?
No.
What's that?
They're anti-competitive.
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
So they aren't allowed to make them here because Elon Musk originally X.
Yeah.
That was supposed to be a super app.
Oh, really?
That was, I believe, that was the foundation. Like when they built PayPal back in the day.
Yeah.
They were going to integrate all kinds of stuff into a single app. So you had a payment gateway, you had a reservation system, you could like book flights.
But it would be an antitrust issue probably, right?
Yeah, you could send messages integrated with your calendar. So basically you were organizing and doing everything in your life through one app.
But why would that get blocked unless it got big, right? It would have to get big before it got blocked.
I don't know why it got blocked.
I'll have to look that one up. I'm not familiar with that.
Yeah, that's the reason we don't have those types of super apps here.
Huh. I didn't know that.
There's some kind of legal reason, anti-competitiveness or...
you would think as an IP attorney I would know.
Yeah, but it's...
I don't know. I might have to look into that.
But we're looking at this fight right now with the app stores, right?
Yeah, well, sure. And they want to break up Google too. But
correct. But Apple had to open up their app store. Yeah. Right? They now have to... Same thing with Google. Google has been allowing third-party apps to be installed for ages.
Well, they did that with Microsoft too, with Internet Explorer a while ago, right? Yeah. Because Internet Explorer was a default browser and it was difficult to install another browser, and so they had to do something about that too. All right, let's see. Founder mentorship indie hacker tools.
Oh, there was another guy we talked about a couple of weeks ago.
Who?
On here that wanted to do this type of like mentorship
using
AI.
Yeah, right. Yep. So these are all AI things. So these are just variations. So it's really just one startup. It's one idea. It's just variations with AI. Yeah. So I mean, so yes, AI can do a lot of cool things. Yeah. AI can't do a lot of cool things. AI looks like it can do things that it can't. So you got to take it with a grain of salt. It's not anywhere. Let's put it this way: for people that don't use, in my opinion, for people that don't use AI on a regular basis, AI is not where you think it is. Right? The people that use it on a regular basis know where AI is at.
So I think it's a split one, right? Because I think most people don't realize how far AI is in certain areas.
Sure.
And I think there's a lot of people that think it's way further than it actually is.
Yeah.
Right? Because let's talk basic AI that most people don't even realize is AI. Netflix recommendation system.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
Fantastic. Amazon's shopping recommendation system.
Yep.
Google Maps, right? Nobody ever questioned, hey, why did Google Maps all of a sudden suggest a faster route?
Right.
Well, because it was AI behind the scenes that did the math and told you, hey, you have a better option, right? Where I think people overestimate it is on the creative side. Like it can do a lot of stuff on the creative side, and it's getting better like every month. Like we're not even talking every year. We're talking every month.
It's getting better, but it's still not great.
Correct. But it's at the rate that it's getting better.
Yeah. Two or 3 years, maybe 5 years from now. You won't be able to tell the difference.
No, I mean, Wall Street Journal was actually talking to marketing agencies.
Really?
Because they were having the conversation about, well, as an agency, how do you bill now? Right? Yeah. Because previously we could have said, do you know what rate cards are? Rate cards are basically, just in case someone listening doesn't know, if you come to us as a client and Mike is working on the project, we bill Mike out at $200 an hour, but Sue is also on the project and she's only billed out $100 per hour because she does
wage
different
gap,
type. Right. Fine, John. But basically every person had a rate card attached to them. You would sit down, calculate the project and go, we need this many hours from these people. And then it would come up with a number.
Right.
Well, what happens to the photographer now that we can AI generate 60% of the images?
Yeah.
What happens to the copywriter when the copywriter now is writing 40% faster, right? Like, do we still bill based on the rate card or do we bill based on projects?
Yeah, and that's the same thing in the legal world as well, right? I mean, I myself use AI to help with writing briefs and things like that. I don't say, here, write me a brief.
Right.
I do the research, and then I have it help me formulate the brief more properly. Right? But it's a tool. Yeah. It's a tool, and the question has gone from, because most services, either you bill for a flat rate for the service or you bill hourly, right? That's just basically what services do. And the ones that bill hourly, you're billing for your experience, you're billing for your know-how, right? And if you have more experience and it will take you less time to do something, well, your hourly rate is usually higher because it's going to take you less time. Whereas if you're new and a novice, your hourly rate's lower, but it's going to take you more time, right? It's the old adage, like about the guy who turned the nut in the machine, that one, right?
Yeah, the hammer.
Right. Yeah, that's it, the hammer, right? Yeah. And it was, whatever it was, $10 for hitting it with the hammer and $20,000 for knowing where to hit it, right? That's kind of the same thing here. I've wrestled with this myself, and I feel like look, I bill at an hourly rate. If I can get things done faster because of AI, I'm still going to bill at however much time it took me, but I probably bill at a higher rate now. Right. I think that's the only solution.
It's funny because we have these conversations a lot at my office because we do flat rates by project.
Right.
Like if it takes me 6 hours, and
you're charging the same thing as if it takes you 3, right?
Or if it takes 12, right?
Right.
Like we flat rate everything. But an interesting question we always ask is when we're paying for something, we like to value it in time you spend and how much you're worth per hour. Right. So let's say, for example, you hire a logo designer, right? And you have 2 logo designers. One says, I'll bill you by the hour. The other one says, I'm going to bill you 10 grand.
Right.
The hourly guy is going to deliver the project in 30 days. The other guy says, I'll deliver it Friday. Which one is more valuable?
Right.
Right. Because the one guy just held up your entire creative process for 30 days.
Yeah.
Right. But you may pay him slightly less.
Right.
So what do you value in this case? The time it takes as far as we can get moving quicker?
Right.
Or the time it takes now I have to pay you less?
Yeah.
Right. And it's a very interesting question.
It is. And it depends who you're talking to as well.
Correct.
Some people are like, I'll rather wait for the time. I'll wait for it to get to me and I'll get it cheaper.
Yep.
Other people are like, no, we need it now and I'm willing to pay that premium to get it now. And then there's people who want both.
Well, yeah. You can't generally have those.
You can't have both. So,
but it's just fascinating conversations that AI is making a lot of industries rethink how they have to build.
You mentioned Netflix earlier. I don't know if you remember this. I don't remember the year, so if I'm wrong, just put it in the comments. But it was like 2012 or 2013. Netflix had it wasn't a bounty, but it was basically a who can build a better algorithm for us for movie recommendations. Did you know about that?
No.
Yeah, it was open up to the public, and they allowed you to download the entire catalog of movies in this SDK, software development kit, and they gave you all the tools you needed, and they were going to award whoever did it $1 million. I don't know if anyone ever claimed the prize, to be honest, but the idea was their engineers couldn't figure out how to come up with a better way of rating movies. So they opened it up to the public. And I know I spent probably a good 2 weeks working on it and just I couldn't build anything better than they did. I don't know if anyone ever collected that prize, but now AI does it.
Yeah.
AI does it for you, and it's significantly better than we would ever do.
Dude, I just saw someone the other day. It's something that's going viral. Well, by the time this airs, it would have been viral a couple of months ago. Is if you are a ChatGPT user, for example, and you have your memory turned on, ask ChatGPT, what are some things you know about me?
Oh, interesting.
And it will literally tell you.
That's a good point. Yeah.
And it tells you stuff that you're like, like, how do you know this?
Right.
Right. But it's because if you've had extended conversations with it. So what's funny is because my wife used to use my paid account. So for some reason, ChatGPT thinks I'm a student, but I'm also in marketing, and I'm also it totally took me and my wife and meshed our personalities together. Because
as far as it's concerned, you're the same person.
Correct.
Yeah.
But it was very interesting when I turned the memory off and then returned it on later. I got a totally different answer. And
That's
when
funny.
I explained to it that there's 2 people using the same account, and who was who, it was actually...
Could it differentiate?
Yeah.
Wow.
Like, to a certain extent, it differentiated.
That's pretty cool.
But it's weird, right? But it's a really cool... If you're a ChatGPT user, you haven't tried that prompt, try it. It's pretty cool.
That is pretty cool. All right, so back to this guy. This is all just the same build on using AI models.
Yep.
And, okay. Yeah, yes, there's lots of ideas out there, and we wish you the best with them. All right, let's see what we have here. I'm curious. How to close my profit-making agency due to a lack of a sales co-founder. Well, if you're making profit, why are you closing? Let's find out. This is from 𝙎𝙧𝙧𝙧. I'm a technical founder and love building tech. I started my first project when I was 18 for my college dorm. That project got selected to some of the best tech universities and got mentoring and networking from there. But I had no money, so I decided to start my tech agency to make money and use it to build that startup. Fast forward to now. I have a 3-agency tech marketing and pitch deck. We have done some amazing work on all these agencies and built an amazing team. But the agency was consuming a lot of my time, especially finding clients and converting sales. I was managing sales, operations, and tech all at once. Well, that's what you do when you're a business owner. Even though the tech and operation was in autopilot mode, sales was something I had to actively look after and was thus consuming a lot of time. I did find a sales co-founder, but he turned out to be a complete jerk and ran away with the money after the first sale. Somehow not surprising.
Nope.
Now I'm thinking of focusing on building my tech software as a service platform, but at the same time don't want to abandon my agency as I have some great portfolio work and a really good team, which is sadly not able to do much anymore because I'm too busy to bring in any sales. I'm really confused on what to do and looking for guidance. Okay. So, number one, if you have a portfolio and you're making some money, when he says profit, I'm assuming he means it's like he's actually making profit, not for profit versus non-profit. So I'm going to assume he's making profit. Yeah, why close that down? I mean, okay, you can't bring in sales, so convert your SaaS platform over to it. Then do it under that agency,
or hire a sales guy.
Well, he did. He ran away with the money.
Well, he tried to bring in
hire another sales guy.
Yeah, he tried. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, no, he brought in a co-founder.
Yeah.
That co-founder obviously had access to the checkbook. You know, you got to be real careful with who you bring in.
Yeah,
I would never give you access to my checkbook.
I wouldn't
trust you with a 10-foot pole, buddy.
I don't give me access to my checkbook. That's how bad it is.
No, seriously. You and I have a very good relationship. We've been friends for a while.
Oh, yeah.
It would have to be something like that for me to bring a person in as a co-founder. Right, you can't just bring somebody in off the street. It's got to be someone you know and trust, and very, very well, especially when you already have an established business.
And you got to set up where it becomes something you earn, not something you get.
Right.
Like hit milestones, for example.
Yeah, buy into it sometimes.
You bring in $250,000 worth of sales, you get a lower commission on your first few sales, and in turn you get a piece of the action, so to speak, right? But I mean, he's talking about every startup's problem. Is when do I say I need to bring someone in, and then how do you find the right person?
Correct.
Like that is, and it's the same thing. Like it's anything in life. If you want someone to mow your lawn, you can hire a company, and you realize they've been mowing it for a month, and you hate how it looks, and you can't explain why. Something's off. So you hire another company. Now all of a sudden it looks better. Yeah. Right. And you may not be able to explain why.
You don't need to sometimes.
Correct.
You just know it's not working.
And that's my philosophy on hiring and keeping people. Like, if it's just working, great. If that means that person is doing their job and they're not doing anything more or less.
Right.
You know when someone's doing less, but the ones that are doing more, those are the ones you got to keep. Those you figure out ways. But yeah, it's a trial and error. Obviously, he needs to get better at hiring.
Well, that's the thing, though. It doesn't seem like he hired anyone. It seems like he brought in a partner, and the partner, screwed him over, which is, again, that happens, unfortunately, quite often. So shift from the partner mindset to the employee mindset and bring someone in, as you said, as a sales manager, someone who's going to be a W-2 employee that, you pay a salary to. Maybe they'll get commission and stuff like that. They probably should, right? But they're not owner in the business. They don't have access to running off with the money. Make them sign a non-compete, non-solicitation agreement, those kinds of things. And and then you run the business that way.
Yeah, I mean, the reason business owners, startups, the reason we hire people is to buy our time back.
Right.
Right. Like ultimately, that's what we're doing. Because when you start a business, it is pretty much all consuming, and that's what every hour is spent doing.
Yep.
When you get to a point where you can hire someone, you get your time back. Now you go, what's the best use of my time at this point?
Right.
And that's what it seems like he's complaining about is right now all of his time is spent on sales. Well, buy that time back.
Right.
And then go focus on your SaaS.
Yeah.
Right. Like this is
I mean, and
entrepreneurship 101. Right.
And the saying is, after you grow your business, because when you first start out, you're working in your business, you're building it up. And then eventually you hire people to do that stuff for you so you can work on your business and build the business. Yep. And it seems like you're at that point now where he should be working on his business. If he's making money, he's got a great product that's about to come out, work on your business and hire people to do the other stuff for you.
And I mean, it may mean that your profits go down temporarily.
Sure.
But you're getting your time back so you can focus on other projects and you can focus on building.
Take a step backwards, you go 3 steps forward. Yeah. That's business, right? Yeah. So that's Silicon Sage. That's how you do it. You're going to need someone that's. It's going to take time to find the right person, right? You might go through 3 or 4 people before you find the right person, but you will find them eventually.
Oh, yeah.
It's going to take trust. You got to trust these people, but you back it up with contracts. Contracts are a good deterrent for people to not do certain things.
And when you find true salespeople, there is no better pay structure than a commission structure.
Oh, sure.
Because if you don't cap what they can make, they get really hungry really fast. The good guys, the good sales guys, oh, hell yeah.
So, all right. So let's talk about that, right? So my aunt is she's been in sales her whole life. And I had this conversation with her once and she really didn't give me a good answer. Okay.
Okay.
So I've never been in sales. I can't sell anything. I've never been able to sell. Right. But meaning that if I don't know you, I have a hard time getting in front of you and selling you something. Okay. No matter how much I believe in the product. But if I know you, no problem. We can talk and I can explain everything to you and you'll probably buy from me. Okay. But it's the cold calling that just never worked out for me. Mm-hmm. So I know there are people that are brilliant at it. Not me. Anyway, my question always was, why is, and I understand commission, I do, but why is it that, let's say you're a sales guy and I'm the developer, right? I'm the software guy. Why is it that you should go and earn commission for selling it, but I shouldn't earn commission for making it?
So Mary Kay said it best.
Okay.
Nothing.
Buy my face cream.
Well, pretty much she said nothing happens until somebody sells something.
Right.
Right? Which means that if you don't have someone to sell something, there is nothing to back it up. There is no company. There is no nothing.
Yeah, but there's no product either without me.
Correct. The difference is the sales guys are what drive the company forward. The people behind the scenes are the ones simply making the product.
But that sounds so like that completely puts what the I'll just use me as a developer. Puts what we do like it means nothing. It's meaningless.
It's not meaningless, right?
It's what it sounds like.
It's not meaningless.
You're saying just build the product. It's not.
So here's the thing: if you have the best product in the world and no salesperson, how much of that product is going to sell?
Sure. And if you have the best salesperson in the world and no product, how much product are you going to sell?
But you just need you can have a shitty product, right? And a good sales, yes.
Well, no, never mind.
Really?
That's a dumb
question. Right? But that's the thing is, and I see it a lot. I see it in my industry. I saw it in the industry I was in. Like I used to do cold call sales, right? Did we have the best product? No. Did we have a good product? Yeah. Did we have some top-notch salespeople on our team? Oh, hell yeah. We became, the largest web developer in our country in a matter of like months. And it was 4 of us that were behind it. Like I was literally selling a website every 3 days, right? From cold calls.
Right.
But that's why, because of us, the company now was also able to grow, right? But without the sales teams, you don't have to hire the developers. You don't have to hire all the back-end people. And those become your fixed costs for doing things. And I know it sounds horrible.
It's not that it's horrible. It's just, to me, it's illogical. It's just, you can't do one without the other. There's
but we don't value everything the same way.
It's a chicken and the egg here, right? Can't have sales without product. Product's useless without sales. So why aren't they looked at equally? I don't understand that. Maybe I just never will.
But that's the thing. Like, you can have a crappy salesperson that will never make more than the developer does.
Yeah, but you can also have a crappy developer that breaks everything.
Yeah, you could, but I can still sell it. Right? And that's the thing, is I can still drive revenue as a salesperson. You can't drive revenue as a developer. You can keep revenue, right? Mm-hmm. You can maintain the revenue by making sure we don't lose the clients, but you're not the one bringing in more business.
Yeah, but if you make a good product, right? If the developers and their teams contemplate and make a good product, it makes your job as a salesperson easier.
100%, which is why good salespeople will pick products that are functional and good and don't cap what they can make.
Yeah, but they're only functional because of the development team.
Correct.
Again, I don't get it.
Correct.
I don't know. Maybe I'll never understand this. Maybe I'm thinking about it too logically.
It all comes down to who's driving revenue for the company, who's bringing the money in. And
yeah, but that's part of your job as a salesperson, is to bring money in. So why should you be paid differently than the person whose job it is to make sure the product can actually is a viable, functional product?
But not every company is like that. Not everybody pays salespeople commissions.
No,
either,
sure. Sometimes
right?
there's base, sometimes there isn't. The base is often very low. But I mean, so a company I worked at before where there were salespeople were making $200,000-$300,000 a year.
Yeah, but I also think it's hard to it's easy to quantify a sales job, because I can say, if you go out and you sell $1 million worth of stuff, it's very easily quantifiable in dollars and cents, right? Yeah. It's much harder to quantify the developer's value as far as how much money they brought in or how much they're worth to the company in the same sense.
Sure.
Right? So like when I look at a salesperson, I go, look, I know my margins are, let's call them 50%, right? So I know even if I give him a 20% commission, we're still getting to keep 30%. How do I set up a similar structure with a developer?
Based on total products sold, I guess.
But it's a salesperson that sold it.
No,
the developer didn't.
No,
right?
I can't buy that.
But you have to quantify it, right? Like, I have to quantify you as a developer. How do I put a developer on a commission structure?
Right, but then there's no, and what you're saying is there's no way of knowing that because of the work that particular developer did. That's why the sale was completed. Right,
it's very hard to quantify.
Oh, it's not impossible. Sure,
correct. So,
but that goes back to marketing, to the Yellow Pages book. You know, unless you had a separate phone number or something like that, there was even today. There's no way of knowing, unless again you have separate phone numbers, that the person found your ad on that billboard or the brochure that they found on the street. Right? Correct. There's no way of knowing unless you have different, like phone numbers or websites, addresses, or something like that.
Which is why a lot of companies are actually doing that, because they're trying to quantify what is driving sales. Right. Because they're willing to spend more money on
that medium. Correct. Sure. And so bringing that back to this, it's very difficult to figure out, if not impossible, to figure out what the individual developer did. Correct. Right, plus the the graphic designer that was involved and the UI expert and stuff like that.
But if you can make developers, if you can put in a performance rating and you pay based on performance, not based on hours, it comes back to the same thing. Sure, of course. Right, because salespeople are paid for performance, not hours worked. Right. If I go out, if I take a job with a company, and I happen to have great relationships because I was in the wholesale industry, I can go out and close 30 deals next week. Right. And I just brought the company another $1 million worth of revenue.
And it took you 20 hours to do it.
Right. Correct. Do they value me for 20 hours worth? Right. Or do they value me for what I brought in? Right.
That depends on the company.
But you and I both know that a lot of businesses and a lot of this stuff is about the relationships, right? Which is why salespeople, like really good salespeople, often have non-competes.
Oh, sure.
Right. But it's exactly the reason that they have non-competes is because it's easy for them to go over to a competitor.
Take the relationship with them, yeah.
Correct. And that's kind of the big thing, is the relationships that you develop as a sales rep. The developer may never, ever, ever talk to a customer nor have a relationship with them. And you could swap out the developer, find an equally good developer, right?
and still have the sale.
But you can't swap out an equally good salesperson and expect to keep all those customers.
That I fully understand and agree.
I think that's part of why they are overcompensated. I shouldn't say overcompensated, but that's part of the reason.
Highly compensated.
They're highly compensated, and they're compensated in a different way.
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe one day I'll understand.
But it's like the tow truck industry.
Oh, sure. We talked about that last week.
Yeah, no, but I totally forgot about it. When is one of the biggest reasons many smaller automotive shops have tow trucks is they don't really want to be in the towing business. They just know, statistically speaking, if there's an accident or something happens to a car and they tow it back to their shop,
they're going to fix it. Yeah.
They're going to get the repair.
Right.
So they're using the tow truck stuff literally as like a lead funnel, which is interesting.
Yeah, it's like a loss leader. Sure.
It is.
Yeah.
But they're willing to put more money into the towing because it makes them money on the back end.
Right. Which makes sense.
Correct.
I can understand that.
But it's kind of like sales. Is you're willing to give a little bit more on the front end because you know you're going to make it on the back end. But you can't quantify directly whether is it the mechanic? Is it the tire guy?
Right.
Is it the body shop? Is it the painter? Like, which one of them is the one that brings you the most income on the back end?
Yeah, that makes sense.
So
I don't know. Again, I'll figure it out one day. I'll probably have this conversation 10 more times with other people, and someday it'll click.
One day you'll have it with ChatGPT too.
The good news is I know it's correct. I just don't know why it's correct.
Yeah. No, and we once again it comes back to the value of time, right? And product or outcome.
Yeah.
Why is the logo designer that charges you less worth more?
Right.
Right? Like, that doesn't make sense. You would think the guy that you pay more and delivers quicker would be worth more, but not everybody.
Thinks that way. All right, moving on. Repulsive Virus 4728 says, "Am I making a mistake?" Yes.
If you have to ask.
Yes, you're making. No, I have no clue. Let's see what they have to say. Oh, it's a female. It says, "I am a 22-year-old female working as a data analyst. To be honest, 9 to 5 has never stood out to me as I've always seen my dad preaching financial freedom and entrepreneurship." Go Dad. Absolutely. "I believe in working hard towards something in the short term to reap in benefits in the long term." So far, so good. "It's been very tough for me to stay in one spot. My mind is always wandering and never really stops. I feel like I can never fully commit myself to a company since I'll never be satisfied with the pay and also won't see any advantage in it for me." You're every entrepreneur in the world. Uh-huh. Every entrepreneur is only an entrepreneur because they didn't want to work at a company. Yeah. They don't want to abide by the rules at the company.
Yeah. I did it because I wanted the most horrible boss in the world, and I couldn't find anybody worse than me. So I was
yeah, of course. "Everyone around me seems happy with their 9 to 5 and wants to continue to do so for the next 10 years. I feel like I'm making a massive jump by wanting to start now. I have great support from my dad financially. He'll also encourage me to try out anything new and make a step toward entrepreneurship. Just seeing corporate suck-ups on LinkedIn makes me feel like I'm doing the right thing. Is validation on LinkedIn that important? Is it really worth working 9 to 5 for $70K a year? No." Sorry, I threw that last no in. "Am I overconfident or do I have the mindset of an entrepreneur?" Oh, without question, you have the mindset of an entrepreneur. 100%. I mean, honestly, it's what we do. That's the point of doing what we do.
What's the last part of that?
Sure. "I've got brilliant ideas, but then I start thinking that if the idea is so good, why hasn't someone else already thought of it and executed it? If it's so easy, then why isn't everyone else doing it? Am I being stupid by asking being so risk-taking? Any advice or words of motivation would be appreciated."
So there is actually a statistic out there that states that 79% of people would like to work for themselves.
Right.
And it's only like something like 3% that actually go out and do it.
Yeah. It is a risk, and you have to be willing to take that risk. And you have to be ready to fail.
Oh, yeah.
You have to be ready to lose everything. And that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that.
Been there,
especially
done
at 22.
Yeah, been there, done that.
You're going to lose 3 or 4 times at 22 before you're in your 30s. That's great. It's the best education in the world.
Oh, yeah.
But maybe not. Maybe you don't lose. Maybe you succeed. But now, look, 22 years old. You have all the energy in the world. Mm-hmm. You have dad backing you up, not just motivationally, but financially. It sounds like dad knows what he's talking about too, right? Mm-hmm. You obviously have an idea for a product or a service. You didn't describe what it is, and that's okay, right? Something you want to do. What more do you need? Go do it.
100%.
Right?
100%.
Go do it. Go find the people that are going to help you. Go find not necessarily employees, but like
a support system.
Right, support system. Go network. Go find people that you need. You're going to need bankers. You're going to need this. You're going to need that. Go find those people. Mm-hmm. Those people will be there when you need them. Some of them you have to pay right away. Some of them you pay later on. Either way, but you have that support system in place. Go learn business. Business is not I have a product. Business is there's a product that I'm going to build my business on top of, right? Correct. It's never just there's this product and I'm going to go make money. It doesn't work like that.
You can have the greatest. It's not Field of Dreams, right?
Yeah, exactly. I saw can't remember who the interviewer was, but they were talking with this guy whose IQ was like 195 or something like that. Brilliant guy, right? Supposed to be one of the smartest men in the world as far as IQ goes. And the question was, why does everybody always think that you should be a millionaire or a billionaire with an IQ of 195, right? And he apparently he has a 9 to 5 like everybody else, like a lot of people do, and but he has this. He says, and he said the right thing is because making money is not about a business or something like that. It's about your connections and who you know. That's how you make money.
Yep.
Right? You start making connections, you start networking, and that's where you grow. He says, I just never had interest in that.
It's sales.
Yeah. Oh, there we go.
No, but that's what it is.
No, I'm kidding.
but it's the relationships. It's the being willing to do that aspect of the business is what drives most businesses forward, right? And let's take you're an HVAC tech. Right, and you're really good at repairing HVAC systems. Doesn't mean you're going to build an HVAC empire, right? You can go out, get clients, you can get busy. Now, who do you hire in next? Do you hire in another tech so you can focus on the sales? Or do you hire a sales guy so you can focus on what you're really good at?
Right.
Right, and most entrepreneurs pick, I'm going to stick with the sales and hire another tech. And then they don't understand why their reputation went downhill because things aren't being repaired properly.
Right.
I've always argued is if you're really, really, really good at something, hire in someone at the level that you're not good at.
Right.
Right. And that's really the best way to do it. And those are things you have to go learn as an entrepreneur. That's like, and just because you thought of a product and it doesn't exist doesn't mean it's a bad idea.
Right.
Like if you would have told someone 30 years ago, hey, I'm going to build this like online thing where people can register and overshare information with their family and not really know who's seeing it and just randomly putting it out there and like, I don't know, maybe post baby pictures and remind people about a birthday party.
What does that remind you of?
You would have been like,
what a great idea.
No,
you would have been like, what is that? That's silly. It's stupid.
Correct.
Everyone's a naysayer, aren't they? Everyone's a naysayer.
And it's just funny. Like, and there's business after business after business that like if someone would have told you, I always remember, what was it on 60 Minutes, ABC News, where someone had to explain to them what email was. And you can find this clip everywhere. Like it's on YouTube, it's everywhere. Like news anchor being like explaining what email is. And this is back in like, AOL days.
Right, of course.
Stuff. But it's hysterical.
That guy just died, by the way. Did you hear that?
Oh, no.
Yeah, the guy, the voice of You Got Mail.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he just passed.
Aw.
Yeah.
That's a shame.
Anyway.
But yeah, everybody, and we were told, well, email will never work, right? Like, because you can't send certified letters via email. You can't, but email took over what?
FedEx wasn't supposed to work.
Correct. There were so many things that never should have worked.
Yeah.
That did. Fidget spinners.
The story behind that kills me.
But still, like if you would have told someone, hey, I'm going to take this thing and I'm going to put a wheel in the middle so it balances so someone can sit there and slap it. You would have been like, what? You're going to do what?
Well, I think that's exactly what happened because the lady who came up with it in the 90s and patented it in the 90s and it never sold. No one wanted to make it. And then once the patent expired,
they started making it.
Huge. Yeah. Once the patent expired.
It's like those stupid, I see my kids with those like silicone poppets.
Yeah.
Like if you would have told someone that idea, hey, I'm going to make this silicone thing with bubbles so people can sit and push it and then turn it around and push it again. You would have been like,
I'll give you the biggest naysayer example of them all is Bitcoin.
Oh yeah.
Go look at the comments in 2011 and 2012 about Bitcoin and what all the experts were saying about it, and it's a terrible. It's never going to make any money. We're crossing $90,000 per coin today.
I know.
90,000
electric cars.
Oh my God, another one.
Right? Like it's
never going to work. The infrastructure can't handle it, which is true right now.
Right now, right? Like it's the right now.
Right.
It's and there have been products, like I always said, like if you look at social networks, like we had this conversation, Vine was just way.
We talked about this.
They were way ahead of their time.
They were ahead
right?
of their time.
So it was a great idea, and at the wrong time.
Yeah.
So part of you having a great idea and nobody's done it yet is just because maybe it hasn't been the right time for that idea. If I would have told you 5 years ago, oh, I think someone should make an app where you can take a photo of your fridge and get a recipe, you would have been like, well, it's kind of a brilliant idea, but why hasn't someone done it?
Yeah.
Well, because we didn't have the AI technology
to do it.
to do it at that time, right? Like, so it could have been a brilliant idea at the wrong time.
Right.
And same thing, it's just a matter of don't underestimate the power of any idea until you actually test it.
Yep.
And we've talked about before, same thing with like the Cybertruck concept is how many people can we get to put a deposit on a Cybertruck?
Right.
Once you see people are willing to put a deposit on something that doesn't exist yet, probably have something there.
So there's more to it than that. So who was I think it was a Musk interview. It was either Musk or one of his co-founders at Tesla. Can't remember. But they had asked people before they even had the car, the Model S ready, before they even had it built. They had asked for two types of deposit, a $5,000 deposit and a $40,000 deposit. If you put the $40,000 down, you get one of the first 100 cars. And if you put the $5,000 deposit down, you would get, the cars they were made. And they sold out.
Yeah.
Before even making the first car.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
So there's a guy online. He's basically a software developer, and they have a big software company, and that's how they test whether or not they should get into a new market.
Yeah.
Is they literally send out an email to all their current customers saying, hey, we're thinking about doing this. If you want to get on the wait list, it's $100 deposit. And if they don't get enough deposits, they never develop it and just send the money back.
Right.
But that's how they validate whether an idea is actually going to be worth money. Because an idea can be great, but it doesn't mean it's worth money.
That's what Kickstarter is.
Yes.
Yeah.
Same concept.
Right.
It's all based on the same concept. Is see if you can separate people from their money, you probably have an idea.
Yeah, you have an idea that they're exactly
that can be profitable. Yeah.
So repulsive virus. Your idea is not repulsive at all.
No.
I love it. That's go do it.
Go do it.
Have you done it yet? Go. What are you waiting for?
Yeah.
Don't work the 9 to 5.
I mean, that was 14 hours ago.
Yeah, it was 14 hours ago.
She could already be up and running.
She already have her product out there. Who the heck knows? But no, the 9 to 5 will drain you. It'll drain you for the rest of your life. And I'll be honest. I tell my employees this, right? I tell my employees, like, look, you're not going to be here for 10 years. You're not going to be here probably for 5 years, right? Although a couple of them have now, crazy. But like, you're not even going to be here for that long. Your goal should be to, you're going to want to grow in your career, whether it's somewhere else or starting for yourself. But there's no more of that. I'm going to be at a company for 20, 30 years. That doesn't happen. Nope. and it's either both sides. Either you're leaving because you want a better job somewhere else, or they're letting you go because, the numbers don't add up on a spreadsheet somewhere.
Correct.
And it's a shame. But the reality is the only way to secure your finances is to do it on your own.
Yep.
And even then, you can't really secure, but you can secure much better because no matter how good you are at your job, no matter how long you've been at your employer, they can let you go at any moment.
And I need to bring up, there is a happy medium for those that aren't quite gung-ho and don't have these systems in place.
Yeah, gigs.
No, franchising.
Yeah.
No. They are.
I was hoping to go at least one episode without bringing up franchises.
No, franchising, we didn't bring it up last episode.
Okay.
But if you think of if you think of it as
I'm getting a bell. Hold on. I'm getting a bell. And every time you say franchise,
you're going to bring it. No, but that's the thing to me is risk is a scale, right? It is you are 100% out there willing to take every risk, and you are 0%.
I'm listening. I'm just going on Amazon and ordering a bell.
I'm not willing to take any risk at all, right? So on the 100% end is I'm going to take all my life savings, dump everything into this, and if it works, it works. If it doesn't, I will have lost everything, right? On the other side of it is I will never leave my 9 to 5 because I'm too afraid of any risk, and I want to know that I have a paycheck coming every month. On that spectrum, you have things like MLMs, right? Like multi-level marketing companies. Yep. You have franchises. You have licensing. Like you could license someone else's. I think, what is it? Is H&R Block that license?
I'm not.
Or are they franchise model?
I don't know.
Right, but you have this entire scale. And right now I'm talking to the 93% or 79%, whatever it is, that want to work for themselves but don't have the risk tolerance, is that there are things in between that can lower, that are closer to the 0 risk tolerance than the 100% risk tolerance. Right? Because the reality is, if you buy a Subway franchise, you have what, like a 91% chance of making it.
Right.
Versus if you go out and open your own restaurant, you have an 84% chance of failing.
Right.
Right. So like that's what I'm saying. Like it's a risk tolerance thing. And sometimes if you aren't very tolerant to risk, there are still other options where you end up being your own boss.
So it depends on the franchise.
Correct.
Obviously, right? You got to be careful of the rules, because there are certain franchises that own you, and there are other ones that are like, go do your thing.
Correct.
So you got to make sure what your, not just your risk level, but what your tolerance level is for having the man on your back, so to speak. And a lot of times that's why people get out of their 9 to 5, is so that someone isn't always on their back.
Yep.
And then I can see them going into a franchise situation without doing their research, and it's just, even though you own it, someone's on your back again.
Yeah, but people do the same thing with when they start their own businesses, right? And there's also we also have the group of people that need the accountability.
Sure.
Right? Like they need the monthly report from the franchisor going, hey, your location is underperforming again, right? And it doesn't mean that person isn't suitable to be their own boss. It just means they need someone to nudge them every once in a while. And there's nothing wrong with it. But that's why, like, whenever it comes to business and I'm talking to someone, like, the first thing I want to know is, what's your risk tolerance? Because that's going to determine, first of all, what type of business you get in.
Yeah.
Like if you don't have a high risk tolerance, don't open a restaurant.
Oh, no.
Right?
Like, in fact, you know what? Still open a restaurant.
In a major city, if you live in New York City and you think it's a great idea to go open a restaurant, it's horrendous. If you are in the middle of nowhere and there are no restaurants in a 10-mile radius,
maybe then,
that might actually be a good idea to open a restaurant, right?
Have you met someone who's been successful in the restaurant industry?
Yeah.
Have you?
Multiple people. But
okay.
That's also my background. So
that's true.
I talk to a lot of
I know
restaurateurs.
quite a few people that open restaurants, and there are some people that definitely made some money and got out.
I failed at it.
But I don't know anyone that like hit it big in restaurants. And we're talking about probably at least 8 or 9 people I know that opened restaurants.
I can tell you the second wealthiest person I ever met is in the restaurant business, but it's what we were talking about, where she owns like 7 McDonald's.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, that makes sense.
Correct.
I'm talking about someone who opened up their own restaurant.
Yeah, not that started from scratch with their own restaurant. I mean, I know a couple, but it's also because they were in a niche market, high-end market. Right. They understood it. A buddy of mine, he interned and worked at like Michelin star restaurants. Like he did it right because he became a celebrity. Yeah. So people wanted to eat there. Like I jokingly told him, like, you could serve dog shit cookies and people would still be like, oh, these are the best dog shit cookies I've ever had, right? But he didn't build it just as now, don't get me wrong, his food is phenomenal, but it's the personality of him that goes with the food and in the restaurant. Like he's like a Gordon Ramsay type.
Well, there you go.
Right,
yeah,
like
it's a very different thing.
Jean-Pierre White. Okay. So he had every opportunity. He also was really good about, like, he would go out and cook at festivals, and he would go on television, and like he became like a celebrity chef, right? So extremely successful. And I know a couple of those guys, but as a whole, 90% of the people I know that went into the restaurant industry are out and lost money.
So you mentioned Michelin star restaurants.
Yes.
Do you know the origin of the Michelin stars?
I do.
You do?
I
tell
do.
the story. I love this story. This is fantastic. This is, you know, I think it was France, right?
No, it started in the
Was
US.
it here? Was it the US?
Yeah.
Okay. This is quintessential American. This is such capitalism.
How far back do you want to, like,
go back to why they started it?
Okay. So Michelin, as we all know, was a tire company.
Yes.
And
I love this.
they weren't selling enough tires. So they needed to figure out a way how to get people to drive more. So what they would do is they would literally leave the cities and go find these restaurants out in the country and then give them a Michelin star rating to encourage people to drive there and go try them. So they literally...
So they would sell more tires.
Correct.
I love it.
Right? And, I mean, most people don't know the origin of the story, but
I have no clue.
I'm like, talk about like marketing genius.
Oh.
It's like, they're not using our product enough. How do we get them to use it more?
Yeah.
It's like that story of the carpenter that increased Colgate sales, right? He had a contract with them and said, if I can increase your sales, I get an X cut of that. And what did he say? Increase the hole on the tube by a millimeter, right?
Something like that.
Yeah, because
it was too small. Right.
The exponential flow was drastic.
People would use more because the bigger the circle, the more.
Correct.
Yeah,
and people don't realize, like, if you have a 1/4 inch versus a 1/2 inch, that is not a doubling.
That's not double.
That's a quadrupling.
It's 4 times.
Yes.
Yeah.
So by just making the hole slightly bigger,
more toothpaste is coming out, and
it's brilliant, right? And then you go, well, back to this lady. Why didn't someone think of that? I don't know. Why didn't they?
Yeah.
Because it's a brilliant idea, but nobody executed on it.
Exactly. So find your Michelin star.
Yeah.
Go find your Michelin star. Yeah, most people just think, it's a Michelin star restaurant, but they never thought about why is it a Michelin star? What's it have to do with tires? And people don't associate the two companies. But
it's
I love that story. I'm so glad you knew that. I love that story. All right.
I used to be in the restaurant industry, and now I'm in marketing.
I keep forgetting about that. All right, Repulsive Virus, best of luck to you. Let us know what you're doing. Put something in the comments if you
this is awesome.
This. Let us know how it's going. All right, let's see. How hard was it actually for you to build the first version of your product? This comes from Kolhad. And let's see. Before I read the question, I can tell you the answer. Sometimes very, very much so. Sometimes not so bad, but sometimes it's really hard. All right, maybe you, like me, started building a relatively simple product as a way to make some extra income, or even have the option to leave your 9 to 5. Hey, we just talked about that.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe while you were still brainstorming and planning your product, you thought, I can build this pretty quickly and start testing and selling. Yes, we all think that, and we're all wrong. How long did it actually take you to reach a first finished version of your product that was viable enough to launch? Was building the first version harder or easier than you expected? In my case, I have a co-founder working with me, and we build a solution that creates resumes, cover letters, and HR emails tailored to each job. What's the name of it? In our first discussions, we thought we could build everything in 3 weeks. 3 weeks. You're lucky if you have the design in 3 weeks.
That's optimistic.
But it actually took 2 months to get our first. That's actually not bad. 2 months for our first launch. I still think that's a quick turnaround for the first version, but it was definitely more than we expected. What I really didn't anticipate was spending so much time working with OpenAI's tools to generate our documents consistently. Even though it's amazing to achieve this with natural language, getting the resumes, especially to follow a design pattern, was tough and required a lot of trial and error along the way. Mm-hmm. Yes, without question. So, this was my do-it-yourself helper app. Remember that one?
Mm-hmm.
And Bebo one. So the app was I built this probably in 2016, I want to say. It was it's technically still out there today. I never shut it down. It doesn't work, but you can still download it on the App Store. It was if you're at home and you're working on something and you get stuck and you need help from an expert. So like you're trying to replace a faucet or something, and maybe the parts aren't exactly what you saw on YouTube and something isn't quite fitting. You could pick up your phone, go on the app. A plumber would video you. It'd be almost like FaceTime. And you can show them what you're doing, what the problem is, and you pay by the minute, blah blah blah. And it was actually really cool. Mm-hmm. I thought it would take maybe. I budgeted about a month's worth of time, maybe a month and a half worth of time to build it. Wound up taking about 4 to build it, just to build it. Right. And that was pretty full time, right? There's a lot that goes into an app like that. You know what the hardest part was, though? It wasn't so much the technology and the code. It was all the stuff. So getting the bank accounts, right? When you have a bank account, they want to know everything about what you're doing. And if you're taking credit cards, forget it, which we were. So we had to explain to them, and there was nothing like it out there. So they had nothing to compare it to. So they're all, I don't know if we can do this. What if this happens? What if that happens? That's number one. Then there was the insurance issue with liability. So there were so many steps along the way that had nothing to do with technology that just ate up a lot of my time. But the technology, and I built this all on my own, but the technology itself was fun to build, but it took a lot of time to build it. And it never launched because I didn't know you at the time, and I didn't have a marketing partner, and for the life of me, could not figure out how to get the word out about this thing. And I just let it die.
It's interesting.
Yeah, I know. But I learned so much from building it. It's honestly a lot of the code I built is the backbone of some of the stuff I'm doing today.
What's interesting is, yes, I always think products take longer to do than anybody anticipates, right?
Oh, yeah.
But we think about this a lot in like software and stuff like this. How long does it take McDonald's to add a new item to their menu? How long does it take an average restaurant to add item to their menu, right? Like the product development process can be way longer than you think. Like I remember one of the restaurants I was working at, we were like a higher end restaurant. We only had, I want to say maybe 18 items on our menu, but we had probably made 7 to 8 iterations of every item on that menu before it actually went on the menu. That makes sense.
Sure.
Because we would make one and we're like, it looks good, presentation's
missing something,
good,
but yeah,
something's off, right? And if it was a base ingredient, you don't have the choice of just adding it. Like now you have to go back and remake it. Very rarely did any of the chefs come in and go, I got it, right? Like, And even if they said I got it, that meant they'd been cooking it at home.
It's almost like when musicians are making a band is making a song or something like that. They don't just come out, okay, here's the song, let's go, right? They're taking little pieces of it, putting it together with that idea and that idea. Same thing with food.
I just talking about that. I just found that apparently there's a whole thing on Amazon Music that are the demo versions of songs.
Oh yeah,
dude, I
some
love,
of my favorite bands have demo albums, and they're incredible. Sometimes they're better than the actual.
I know.
It's so cool to listen to, like where their heads were when they were making this music.
Yeah.
Oh my God, so much fun. Anyway, go ahead.
I think this is exactly it. Is everybody underestimates the time it takes to fully develop something and get it ready for launch. And I don't care if it's software. I don't care if it's pizza. Everybody underestimates the time, because just because you think you're good at it, when it comes to doing it on a work site, on a professional level, it always takes longer, because when it's yours, you start nitpicking at it.
Oh, everything.
Right?
You better.
And then you let someone test it.
Yeah.
Right.
And they find it's a little. Yep.
And now you have to fix that. Right. And it doesn't matter whether it's pizza or software. Like you should not open a pizza place if nobody ever tasted your pizza. Right. Like it's kind of.
Although I've been to pizza places that sure feels like that.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure some of them actually did that. Right. There's a reason 80% of restaurants go under. But yeah, no, your initial product development, like we've been around since 2006. We're approaching 20 years. We are still fine-tuning our final product. Like it never stops. I think that's the bigger thing is I don't know anything other than rice or something like that. There is no final product. Right? there's a product ready for launch, and then there is the ongoing development of your product. And I think that's kind of like, it's same thing when we build websites for people, right? People go, oh, I think my website is done. No. Your website is ready to go live, right? But it's not done.
No, it'll never be done.
Right? Like if you want to rank on search engines, you can't just build it and then think magically Google is going to start ranking you without you doing anything. Yeah. Right? Like, no, that's a starting point. I forget what, there's one of these online magazines or online newspapers. And I think they said for the first year, they posted 62 articles on average a day. And it still took them a long time to start getting their stories actually ranked and get into the Google newsfeed. But think about it, 62 stories a day.
It's a lot of news.
That's a lot of news. That's a lot of stories, right? And trust me, I'm pretty sure AP does way more than that. But if you are a small team of like 3-4 guys before the time of AI where you could use that to help you write, that's a lot of work, right?
A lot of work, a lot of editing.
Is that product ever fully done? No. They just had something. They took it live.
Yeah, because then once you start getting the traffic, then you realize how are my visitors using the website, and you're rebuilding that.
Correct.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
So anyway, how hard was it? I think that's the wrong question. I don't think it's a matter of difficulty. I think it's a matter of figuring out what you need to do as you build it. Very, very, very rarely, if ever, do you say at the beginning of a project, this is what I want to build, and that's what the finished product is. It never works like that. I mean, I know I've never been in a situation like that. No. It is never, here's what we want, and then that's exactly what you get at the end. Nope. It's constantly changing along the way because you're learning things along the way. You're discovering things. People are giving you input. They better be giving you input and feedback, and everything changes. And I got to tell you, a lot of times, if the finished product is 50%, that's a lot.
Yeah, but I could see that in the software world.
Yeah.
Especially.
Yeah. So how hard is it? Again, it's not a matter of difficulty. It's a matter of just knowing what you want to where you want to be and what you want to get at with your product. And then also knowing that it's going to change along the way and being flexible enough to do that.
And I think one of the things that probably one of the most important lessons I learned in business was evaluating feedback without it being direct feedback, right? So, and I'll tell you exactly what I mean by that is when we were in the restaurant world, one of the things we would do, my head chef would go back to the kitchen. We would do the dinner rush. Yeah. Then he would stand by where the servers brought the food back to see how many leftovers there were on the plates.
Okay.
If certain plates had more leftovers, he would check what dish was it.
And that makes sense.
Right? And he knew if we were getting a bunch of leftovers back to the kitchen from a certain plate, we were putting too much of that food on the plate. We had to cut back what we were putting on it.
Or people didn't like it.
If it was always the same thing on the plate, like if everybody left the potatoes, then yes, it meant they didn't like it. But he was using it also for portion sizes.
Portion sizes, yeah, of course.
And it was, once again, nobody will tell you, oh, the portions are too big. Right? That is something you have to just know that. How do I check for that? Well, that's how you check for it.
Yeah.
Is there an item we're putting on the dish that people aren't eating? How do you check for that? Well, the only way to check it is the dishes that come back.
Yeah, it's true.
Because they won't tell you. Right?
Yeah, and someone who's, myself, never been in the restaurant industry, what a great idea.
Right?
Simple. You don't need to do crazy marketing analytics. Yeah. Just look at the plates that come back.
Correct.
What a great idea.
It's the same thing like with software, right? Like you build in a feature and you're like, oh, this is going to be our feature. And we keep hammering this feature. Well, if you don't actually see how many people are using that feature,
right,
you might be wasting a hell of a lot of time on a feature that, A, you don't know whether it's because people don't know how to use it, or it's a feature they don't want.
Or it's, useless, right?
But if you don't evaluate that type of stuff with your product, it's very hard to keep it moving forward.
Yeah, agreed. Entirely, yeah. All right, so Coelhd, Coelhd.
Oh, that reminds me.
What?
The story of MailChimp.
Yes.
Isn't it MailChimp?
I don't know. Which story are you getting to?
So they were developing something completely different. That software company, right?
Yeah.
And then they started looking at the data with, like, they thought they were...
I think it was MailChimp.
Huh?
I think it was MailChimp.
Yeah. So they were really a totally different software company.
Right.
They were doing something completely different. And then one day they started analyzing, like, where are users spending most of their time and money and all that stuff with us? And they went, on our email marketing platform, right? And they're like, we barely pay attention to it.
Yeah.
And that, because they actually looked at the feedback, that what were their users using rather than what do we want to develop,
right?
It ended up becoming what we know as MailChimp today. But nobody really, they didn't think they were in the newsletter business.
Right.
It's just, look up the story if you haven't. To anybody listening,
yeah,
it's a cool story.
I've definitely read that before. That's why I'm not positive if it was MailChimp. I think it was, but I read that probably, God, how many years ago. But I know that story. All right, so moving on. Let's see. No.
Seed investors.
Okay, this looks good. So Shot Part 3426 says, how do I validate my explainer video MVP? I've been stuck at this point for several months now. Oh, sorry, starts off. Hello, sub. I've been stuck at this point for several months now. I know my target audience and can seemingly reach them through Reddit too, but despite having a UI mock-up video, I don't know the right questions to ask. I've read the mom test. You know the mom test?
No.
I don't know the mom test. And I've gotten answers to more technical questions such as which OS my target audience uses, and I tried to casually inquire to check the presence of my competitors. What is my app about? My app is a word processor which has skeuomorphic UI, SKEUO morphic. You know that word? Skeuomorphic UI. It is meant to appeal to a very niche set of users who are particularly fond of 2007 to 2012 Aqua UI. I know Aqua UI. I don't know what skeuomorphic is. Currently, I don't know whether or not my target audience is actually willing to pay a premium for a word processor that looks and feels like the one they love. So, can you please suggest a few good questions to ask? I'm at a stage where I'm eager to start writing code, but I'm just waiting to validate my MVP before taking the plunge. Very good call. Thank you very much. Don't write the code until you know what you're writing it for. Due to the restrictions, I'm unable to upload the video, but I hope I won't be a hindrance in asking my questions. All right, first off, I gotta find out what skeuomorphic is. I've never heard that term.
Okay, before. So while you're looking that up, The Mom Test is a book by Rob Fitzpatrick, who is a tech entrepreneur.
Okay.
Basically, the idea is you shouldn't ask your mom whether or not you should start a business because she'll lie to you and tell you it's a good idea. It goes above and beyond that. Like, he basically says, well, you shouldn't really ask anybody whether your business is a good idea or not. Right. If you believe in it, you should do it, is what I'm reading from it. Okay.
Well, skeuomorphic is when you are digitally designing something to look like a real world physical object. So you can see. So, you know who was really good at that back in the day? Winamp. Remember Winamp?
Oh, yeah.
Right?
It looked like you could reach in and touch the knob.
And touch those things, man. That's skeuomorphic.
Yeah.
That's kind of cool. Or skeuomorphism. I never heard that term before.
Me neither.
That's a cool term. I'm adding that one to my dictionary. I like that a lot. All right. So, I don't know. What do you think? So what questions would you ask?
Dude, this is so beyond me.
All right, so you're going to have a limited set of people, right? Because Aqua UI, that was an old word processor way back in the day, and not word processor, but like a skin, and it's going to be limited to a certain set of people.
It's a word processor which has a skeuomorphic. Like, I could see it working on like tablets really well.
Oh yeah.
Right? Where you can... Right. Where it's almost like you're using a pen and handwriting and like you want that to feel like a notepad. But like I'm having a hard time seeing how this functions really well on a desktop or why you would even want it. Like I get it with Winamp because you're listening to music and it looked cool.
Yeah.
Do you really care how cool something looks when you're working in Microsoft Word or any type of word processor?
I don't on the desktop. I don't think you do. I think you just want to in and out get it done. But the tablet idea, that's a cool one because and actually these are the questions this person should be asking, right? if we're trying to figure it out ourselves, the tablet idea is cool because you're not when you're using a tablet, you're not sitting there doing some people have keyboards, I guess, but you're not doing like the long-term typing on a tablet, right? Tablet is like the quick hit in and out. Oh, I got to take quick notes or I got to look at a list or something like that. That's where I could see some type of design really taking off.
I think it would be, even for like handwriting, if you could make that look like a piece of paper and give me that same feel.
Oh, yeah, with like the spiral notebooks, right?
But give it more of that type of feel.
I want to bring up the Aqua UI so you can see what it looks like.
But yeah, it's...
So it's the old window, actually this upside down windows, the old Mac style interface.
Yeah.
Right? Like something from the late 90s, mid to late 90s.
Yeah, where they were trying to make it dimensional. They wanted it to feel more lifelike.
Right.
Because we were all getting used to working on flat monitors.
Yes. Right.
Like that
it was 3D before 3D.
Correct. But it was I think it was more done because we were trying to get people used to sitting in front of a flat object.
Right.
All day, every day and staring at it.
Right.
Like that would be my guess psychologically why they did it. Now it's just a matter of it looks cool.
It does.
Like so
it does look cool. So there's definitely something for nostalgia when it comes to using computers and such, right? Like I see, like my kids will, or especially my son, because my daughter doesn't really care about technology. My son does, and he'll open up like a video showing Windows 95 or something and laugh at it, and I look at it like it's what I grew up with. It's like I know every part of that, and it's comfortable. Right? It is not something I have to guess at. I know it. I know how it looks. I know how it sounds. I know how it feels. Heck, if it had smell, I would know what it smelled like. Right?
Do you miss Clippy?
No, I do not miss Clippy. Nobody misses Clippy. Oh. Nobody misses Clippy.
But Clippy.
No. Nobody misses Clippy.
I want to bring back Clippy.
No, you do not.
I do.
No, you don't. Nobody like Clippy.
But with modern technology, with the intention of Clippy back then,
if Clippy appears on my screen, is this what you meant to do? Yes, it is. That's why I hit enter. That's why I clicked here. It's worse than what I meant to do. Leave me alone. Go away.
But we still have Clippy.
Anyway,
like in Outlook,
it was.
Did you forget?
I know, but at least you don't have this paperclip mocking you. That's what he was doing.
I know.
The way they designed the eyes, it was total mocking you.
I know.
Every time it was judging you. Every time it looked at you.
I miss Clippy. Bring back Clippy.
Are you sure it's what you meant to do?
I think
I'll do it with the camera. Are you sure? Is that really what you wanted? As opposed to just a box that says, "Is this what you meant to do?" I'm okay with that. Right? It's the passive aggressiveness of Clippy that got everybody. So anyway, the old look and feel was comfortable, and it was kind of neat. And I see a lot of hardcore developers, like people that are not just like web developers, but like really into still using like that. They use like assembly language or still use like old style C++. They have their screens. Do you know what they do with their screens? Green screen. They code in green screen. I still see that from day to day. I even see younger kids doing that nowadays too. There's something about it that's just calming. There's not so many colors. It's just you and the code, green screen. Right, the code gets colored, just like it would now. So you have what different functions are and stuff like that. But the basis of the screen is green screen, and it makes it so much easier to code. So there's something like this where if you find the right application, and I agree with you, I think if it's going to be for a word processor, it should be on a tablet or a phone or something like that. So anyway, all these questions that we're asking, these are the questions you should be asking. Coalhead, that's what you should be asking.
Did you hear about that business that basically is going out of business now because Apple is building it into their tablets where you can handwrite numbers and it's a calculator?
Well, they did that with the flashlight. There were 100 companies that were making some good money originally on the iPhone because they didn't have a flashlight app. So they built the flashlight app. Yeah. And then Apple built it in.
Yeah. And they just did that with this calculator where you can now handwrite like 5 + 5.
Right.
And it'll give you the answer, right?
Yeah.
But that's the type of stuff when we were talking about this, that's the type of stuff I was thinking about. It's like, where would this dimensional feel work naturally? And I think tablets are the answer.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's a great idea. Because again, when you're in your word processor, let's face it, unless you're working for yourself, when you're in your word processor, you're probably at work. Mm-hmm. Work's not going to let you install UI, different UIs for it and such.
Would they allow you to install Clippy again?
Clippy. I'm telling you, I had some real fights with that thing, man. Back in the day, that he was the bane of my, and you couldn't get rid of him.
I know.
It was impossible to get rid of that thing.
But yeah.
So no Clippy.
So I think you're right in that they won't allow you to install custom interfaces or UIs around Microsoft Word, whatever word you're using. But yeah, in personal life, this is where that fits into
and that's where the tablet comes into play. Because generally your tablet is your own. Generally. I mean, there's some people that have tablets from work, but most people have their own tablet. Everyone has their own phone. So I would absolutely think that's where you would want to put that.
It's actually, the reason I brought it up is it's one of the things that I find very annoying by taking handwritten notes on my tablet is that I'm looking at this bright white screen. I want it to feel more like that softer paper.
Yeah.
Like if I want to be able to add the lines.
Right.
Like, I want to feel like my hand is about to knock the stupid spiral on this. Like, it's just that feeling of handwriting. And once again, because this is a niche market, like niche, I think people like me would be like, it's cool. I would totally use it. The problem is I wouldn't pay for it.
Right.
That's the other side of this that we're not talking about is this a sellable product?
Well, that's the question they need to ask, right? They need to go to the people that prefer that style and say, would you be willing to pay $9.99 for this or whatever the cost is?
And would you be able to pay it every month?
Right.
Do you want it to be a one-time? Like, what are we doing with this, right?
So here we go. We're right back to what we talked about earlier. It's coming full circle. So what should this guy do? Put it out there that this is what you want to build. Mm-hmm. Ask people. The question is, and design not a prototype, but design a mock-up of what it's going to look like. Put it out there. Are you willing to pay $10, $15, $20 for this? If so, give me a $5 deposit now.
Yep.
And see how many people are actually willing to do it before you write any code.
Yeah.
That's a way to do it. So there you go. There are some of the questions you're going to want to ask. That's just how you do it. You have to try to. You got to put yourself in the position of the person who's going to use it. Mm-hmm. And you say, what would I want to know if I want to use this thing, right? And it's not just about the money. It's about where am I going to use this? Where is it going to be most beneficial?
Yes. How is it going to impact my life?
Right.
One way or another.
How's it going to make my life easier?
Yes.
That's the real question. All right. Move on to one more.
One more.
Get one more in.
Yep.
All right. Let's see. I like this. Today's a lot of technology things. All right. Did I push this or not? Here we go. All right. Let's see. Commercial Gas 4176 says, for non-coders, how did you find your developer? I have an app idea I've had for quite some time. I know what I wanted to do, what I want it to look like, etc. I do not know a single app developer. I asked everyone if they know someone who can code, and I've gotten nowhere. You got a small network, man. Mm-hmm. My issue with any random person that I have zero connection with is trust, as it should be. I also know it would cost tens of thousands of dollars to go to some company to have it developed, and I am not sold on using AI, nor should you be, or some non-coding website. Yes, no code does not work very well. However, I am curious to hear any and all ways how you found your developers or any general advice when it comes to this. Thank you.
I'll give you the quick answer.
Yeah.
We hired a bunch of wrong people until we found the right ones.
Exactly.
So yeah, it's just like hiring for any job or deciding to work with any business is you do your homework and.
So let's make sure this person is clear. This person should not be looking to hire someone as an external developer who's going to develop it as part of their company or something and then give you the code. You should be hiring someone who works for you. This needs to be a contracted W-2 employee, work for hire type stuff where this person works directly for you and you alone. Maybe they do some moonlighting or whatever. That's fine. Depending on how you feel about that. But they work for you. You need to hire a developer. So how do you find one? Put ads on job boards. So go find someone. Go spend $500 and put ads on a few different job boards. LinkedIn's a great place to do it. Career Advisor, all those places. And then find resumes. Have other people look at the resumes. I'm sure you know some people in the tech world. Have them look at the resumes if you're not comfortable. Do some interviews. Who do you mesh with? Right? It's not just about the skill set. It's about who is it that can come and sit across. So Gummi and I are sitting this close. Who's the person that can sit across from you every day that you're not going to go crazy over, right?
Right.
And hire that person. And if it doesn't work out, you'll know within a month or two. Get rid of them, bring somebody else on board. And it might take a few rounds of that. That's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. But don't take your idea, go to a company somewhere and have them build it, and do not go overseas. Please don't go overseas.
And I think the other part of this is, and you have to realize, I always say, like, programmers all speak the same language. Like, everybody speaks German, everybody speaks English. But this is what I came to realize is that you guys all have dialects too.
Yeah.
Where you like to code a specific way.
Language. Yeah.
No, but it's not a language. It's literally the accent within the language.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So
the methodology of how you're coding, right?
So if
you're formatting your code and everything. Yep.
So if you hire a developer from down south with that accent, and then your next developer is from Maine, it might take him a while to fully understand the complete dialect of how your previous developer, and that was like the finesse stuff that I didn't realize until much later.
It's very true.
That just because they're using the same language doesn't mean they use it the same way.
Right.
Right. And that was fascinating because I was like, why is it taking you so long to learn our basic CMS system that we built?
Yep.
And the guy's like, well, because it's not how I would have done it. And I'm like, oh, wait, I guess there's more than one ways to do it.
Yeah.
There's more than one ways to say something, or are the action words the same? Print, yes.
Right.
But where that falls in the command line
right.
is different from developer to developer from what I've seen.
Oh, it's so much more than that too. I mean, not to get too technical, but when you're talking about writing, let's just use CSS as an example, right? Cascading style sheets. There's really two schools of thought. There's more than this, but the two main ways of doing it, three actually. You have inline CSS, which is where you're putting it right into the elements on the HTML page. There is CSS that's within the body of the HTML page, and then there's CSS that's a file that you call out and bring in. And then within each of those, there's subsets because some people take their CSS and write it all on one line. Mm-hmm. Some people take their CSS and break it down by element, and then the element is one line. And then some people break it down by element, and then each element is broken down line by line too. They all do and accomplish the same thing, but every developer has a different way of doing it. Some people use spaces as indents. Some people use tabs. Some people don't indent at all, and that drives me nuts. The no indentation drives me insane. I don't know how you can look at code without it being indented. Just don't do that. Don't ever do that. In fact, listen to me very carefully. If you're going to hire a developer, look at their code. If there's no indentations, get rid of them. They don't know what they're doing.
There you go.
And if they don't use comments either.
So there you go. So that's the first step in finding a developer.
Yes.
See if they use indents and comments.
Yes.
If they do.
So far, so good.
Okay.
If not, run. Bye.
That's funny.
So true, though. I could talk about this stuff all day long and how to hire a developer. But that's what you want to do, though. You want to go out and you want to hire somebody to work for your business.
And also, I just want to explain to someone that's doing this is if you go and hire a company overseas or you hire a third-party company, if you don't state in the contract that this is software you own,
yes,
that is your proprietary code, meaning they can't reuse it for someone else, right? Because that's the easiest thing is, hey, I'll develop something for you. Here's 20 grand. There you go. Here's your product. Now I turn around and sell it to the next guy again for 10 grand.
Yeah.
Right. So that if you,
well, that's just one person. So there's multiple issues with this. Number one, okay, the ideal situation is I give you money. Okay, we'll use Indian developer shops, and believe me, there are brilliant guys over there, no question about it. But here's what happens. There's a couple of different ways this works out. The ideal way is I give you money, you give me code, code works, we go our separate ways. Great. You know how often that works?
Never.
Very rarely. Very, very rarely, if ever. Okay?
Yeah.
The more likely scenario is I give you money, you give me code. Code doesn't work the way it's supposed to. I have to give you more money to fix the code that isn't working that you made. And then I have to give you even more money to stay on top of it. And eventually I don't want to give you money anymore and I have software that doesn't work. Okay? But there was no ill intent. It was just a misunderstanding of what I wanted. And when I say it doesn't work, I don't mean it's broken. I mean it doesn't work the way it's supposed to work.
It's working the way it's supposed to work based on the understanding that they have. Right? Like, this is where project managers for this type of stuff are worth their weight in gold.
Oh my gosh, yes, absolutely.
It is, because you have to translate from human to programmer, and then from programmer back to human, to make sure that they're actually saying the same thing, because they may be coming at it from two totally different angles, saying almost the same thing, but in the back of their mind, this person is accomplishing it one way and this person is accomplishing it a different way.
Correct. Right? And if you don't have someone overlooking their shoulder all the time who understands what they're doing. So those are the two good scenarios.
Yes.
Now we'll get to the bad scenarios. Bad scenario A is I give you money and I never hear from you again. That happens quite often. I give you money, you give me the code. The code works. The code works as expected. But they actually own the code because, like you said, they didn't put into their thing that you actually own the code when you sign the contract, and the code stops working after a month because you haven't paid their subscription fees that they want you to pay every month. But you didn't realize that was part of it. Right?
And another one is I give you money, you send me code.
And then I sell it to somebody else.
No, I put it up and someone comes back and says, hey, that's my code. Where did you get it?
Oh, yes. That absolutely. They're still stealing code from a GitHub or something like that. And then saying, here you go. You're like, great. And it's not their code. They took it from someone else.
There's all these different scenarios.
There's so many different problems with going overseas, man. If you have someone in-house, you can watch them. You can see what they do. And more importantly, you can hold them contractually, right, to indemnify you, which means that if they do something wrong, they're responsible, not you. So even if you could say, well, the person in-house could just steal the code. That's great. They absolutely could. If you're watching them and you know what you're doing, you can take care of that. If you don't know what you're doing, that's okay. You can put into your contract with their employment contract with them that they're indemnifying you and guaranteeing that they're not going to steal code from Google or somebody else and then use it in your project. If they do, it's on them. So
basically, I'm going to say for this guy, if you're looking for a developer and you've never worked with him before, find a project manager that knows how to code. And then have that project manager bring in a developer.
Right.
Like that. I don't want to say I hate working with developers, but like,
hey,
they think differently. They talk about things.
That hurts right here, right in my heart.
What? Where?
Right here.
See it.
Right
Is that
there.
Clippy?
Clip.
Is that Clippy?
Clippy.
You're giving me the Clippy look.
Are you sure you want to do this?
But yeah, it's just interesting because like I used to have to explain this to clients back when I was selling software, right? I said, so if it's a yes or a no, it's very easy to program. If it becomes an and or an if, now all of a sudden we are not talking the same language at all, right? Like yes, go to next, easy, right? No, okay, go back, easy. If answer is maybe, then give 7 options. It complicates the entire thing. And this is where, because I used to be that middleman between the software developers and the client, right? And the client would say, well, I just want them. I remember we were building this travel website, and they were like, okay, so first we want them to pick a flight, and based on what flights they pick, they're going to have certain resort options,
right?
Because that's how the packages go together. And I'm like, but that's not what you said when we started this project. You said when they pick a flight, they have to pick a specific resort. Now you're telling me that they get to choose from a bunch of different resorts? Like, that is not a,
right,
when you select this, then get this option.
Right.
That is the, if you select this, then get any
multiple options. Yeah.
Totally different when it
Very
comes
different,
to, right?
Yeah.
But they didn't think of it like that. They were like, what does it matter if they can pick from
because,
one or many?
You know why? Because they're thinking it's better software. Because when a developer develops, they're trying to think, how do I make the software the best possible software it can be? And they're trying to bring in all these different different like choices. And it'd be great. Instead of the person having one choice, they can have 10 choices. But what they don't realize is you sold it as a one choice feature.
Correct.
And the one choice feature is why these companies are on board, because they want to be the resort in that spot. They don't want anybody else to be in that spot. Yep. But now your developer has put 10 companies in that spot, and now the company, the resort that wants to buy from you no longer wants to buy because it's not exclusive to them.
And what's worse is when it goes the other way around, right?
Oh, yes.
Is when the customer says, well, but that's not what I said.
Right.
And I'm looking at my notes going, that's exactly what you said. It was a yes, no answer.
Right.
Not a if answer, right? If user does this, then do this is easy.
Yeah.
Is if user does this, if they do this and this, then maybe do that. I'm like, what? But yeah, it's very hard to translate between those two.
Right.
Like, it's harder than people realize.
Yeah.
Unless you've done both, ideally.
Right.
Like, you've been on the having to brainstorm software and start writing it out and realize like what that process is. Mm-hmm. Basically, like what did they used to call that? Waterfall drawings?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then actually had to work with a developer where you now understand that an if or like any of these statements mean totally different things.
Oh yeah.
It's the story of the wife that sent her husband to the store, right?
Oh yeah, I know this.
I need you to go get some eggs. If they have milk, get 2.
Yeah, that's right.
So
yes,
he came home with 2 things of eggs.
Yeah,
right, because they had milk.
Right.
And she's like, "What?" I'm like, "But that was an if statement."
Right.
Logically, as a programmer, that makes perfect sense. Right? To anybody else on the planet, you're like, "What?" Like,
so
what?
True. I remember that one. It's funny.
But it's such a simple explanation, right? And because the average person will go, well, she meant get 2 milk. And I'm like, yeah, but that's not what it said. And code doesn't understand intent.
No.
It understands what...
It understands nothing.
Correct.
It literally will do exactly what you tell it to do.
Right. And it's just such a perfect example of the difference between how a programmer or someone that works in programming has to think versus how we can think as a user, where we go, oh, it'd be really cool if it could do this.
Yeah.
And the programmer is going, no, yeah, it would be cool, but no, right?
I'll end with this. If you really want to blow your mind when it comes to software development and trying to understand why developers think the way they do, just remember, in software, we have an equal sign, we have equals, and we have equals. And they mean completely different things, all 3 of them. And I'm not going to go into what they do.
No.
They mean completely and utterly different things. So equals, and equals. So anyway, all right. So commercial gas 4176. That's how you find a developer. You hire them.
Yep.
End of story. Don't send it out to a company to do. It's not going to be worth it
ever.
So best of luck to you. I think that's going to be it for today.
We had a lot of tech today.
We did. Yeah,
we did throw in some franchising, some restaurants,
some restaurants were in there,
some fidget spinners.
We did fidget spinners. Yeah, we talked about a lot of things. Netflix, we talked about.
Netflix, yeah.
We talked about a lot of things.
That was from
That's
an
tech.
AI.
That's still tech though.
Yeah.
So, no, cool, good show. Next week.
Next week.
All right, buddy.
See ya.
See ya.